And so it's funny now that Democrats are all rallying around U.S. interventionist policies, but there are people in this country that will just, for whatever reason, I don't know, like to the end of the United States. But oh boy, let's talk about foreign policy.
This is where he was supposed to be talking about the pretty massive bombshell revelation that TENET, the media company that he's been both promoting and participating in, they've been getting millions of dollars of funding from Russian-backed sources. That's what he's supposed to be talking about. He's still doing the misdirect. This is from the list of talking points that you're supposed to talk about. You're supposed to make people afraid that American soldiers are going to be on the ground and they're going to die, and that like we'll lose our men. All of this, you're still doing it. You're still doing the same talking points from the document. All right, I'm going to be using Fox News. Not often, but I use for source when it comes to stories. But I figure they will be able to give us a very patriotic, because they do love America. They love freedom. I don't think there are any fans of Russia. They're a little closer to neocons when it comes to their coverage of Russia. Although Tucker Carlson, when he was on Fox before the whole, Dominion voting scandal, what was it, over a $700 million lawsuit loss, and then him getting all fired, he was actually pretty pro-Russia in a lot of the segments he was doing and a lot of the segments that they aired. So yeah, it's tough to know. Let's find out.
He's sitting down. This is the DOJ talking about charges of Russian interference in the 2024 election. Let's listen in.
Threats task force to respond.
Oh, and I should also add, before we start talking about this, that this is not like something unique to Russia, just so we're clear. A lot of countries try to influence U.S. politics. The U.S. is like the imperial empire, the core of the empire. In fact, it's the world's superpower, the largest military. They spend more on their military than I believe close to the next 10 countries combined. There's hundreds and hundreds of military bases, an estimated over 800 U.S. military bases globally. They not only are completely surrounding the entire planet, they're very powerful. And so the U.S. runs the show. So a lot of countries do want to influence U.S. politics in one way or another, doing so through legal means and illegal means. But like in terms of your actual politics getting influenced by another country, you should look at Israel. Israel influences U.S. politics a lot, openly. They can brag about it. They can be like, hey, by the way, the vice president who's running for the president of the United States, Kamala Harris, we've given her over $5 million. Here, we're going to boast about it. Here's how much money. Look at all the politicians in the United States that we actually directly influence their campaigns. We run ads on TV. Ads like, this is sponsored by AIPAC. It's pretty wild. Pretty wild that you're boasting about defeating, like, very, very pro-Palestinian and I would say anti-war machine candidates. Cori Bush, for example, Jamal Bowman, candidates who are out there and, advocating, I would say, very, very, very on the right side of history of them to do this, talking about how, ending all forms of global oppression and the genocide of Palestinians is something the United States should completely divest from. Not something they should do. But yeah, they're not lawmakers anymore, thanks to foreign interference.
To a dangerous increase in violent threats against the public servants who administer our elections. We did so because countless Americans were enduring terrible threats simply for doing their civic duty. And we did so because threats to election workers constitute threats to our democracy itself. In just a few minutes, the task force here will meet to discuss its continuing work in advance of the upcoming election. But before we begin, I want to address the tragic shooting that occurred this morning at a high school in Winder, Georgia. We are still gathering information, but the FBI and ATF are on the scene, working with state, local, and federal partners. I'm devastated for the families who have been affected by this terrible tragedy. The Justice Department stands ready to provide any resources or support that the Winder community needs in the days ahead. Before I get to the work of the task force, I also want to announce two major law enforcement actions that the Justice Department is taking that are separate from the important work of this task force.
This is going to stretch into Canadian media and politicians? Oh, yeah. Oh, no. Lauren Southern's Canadian. Lauren Chen's Canadian as well. Yeah, no. Canada is definitely intertwined in this scandal as well. Yes. I'm not sure how they're going to respond. I haven't seen any of the major politicians talking about that. We may have an election announced very, very shortly in this country, so that might be, preoccupying a lot of the candidates. But yeah, no, it's wild times.
but are part of our broader effort to protect.
Oh, you know, the only shitty thing about this story, like the only downside is I just realized that this is going to make all the Blue Anon and all the Russiagate people so horny. Like right now, they're probably, I don't want to see that side of the internet. I don't want to go there and be like, oh, we knew it all along. Oh, we told you Russiagate was real. Because they went way too off the deep end. Like, was there a lot of things that could be like demonstrable ties, links, and you know, between both the Trump campaign, Trump officials, Trump staff? Absolutely. There's a lot of real things that happened within there. But they got as far as being like, you know, Donald Trump literally sucking Vladimir Putin's balls, and as he juggles those within his like mouth case, he's now taking orders directly from the Kremlin. And it's like, whoa, no. Okay, yeah, no, the whole Mueller she wrote shit, like that's not gonna save you. Okay, you're not gonna destroy Trump. And the stuff already come out, like the Mueller report come out. It didn't sink. He's not gone. Like, okay, we got to stop this. You've gone way too far with this.
Our elections from unlawful interference of any kind. First, this morning we unsealed an indictment in the Southern District of New York of Konstantin Kalashnikov and Elena Afanasieva, two Russian-based employees of RT, a Russian state-controlled media outlet. They are charged with conspiring to commit money laundering and to violate the Foreign Agents Registration Act. That law, enacted nearly a century ago, was enacted to ensure that the American people were informed when a foreign power engages in political activities or seeks.
I'm going to be honest with you. If I was Lauren Southern, even watching this in Canada, I would be scared shitless. If I was Tim Pool or Benny Johnson, like, I'm guessing they probably didn't sit through this whole thing. Or maybe they did. I don't know. But I would definitely be like, holy shit. Like, it all just feels like fun and games, you know, like, oh, we're all just making memes and kick, and we're trying to look epic on each other, and all these different, like, pundits on the internet are all just taking swipes at each other all the time, and, oh, look, they're going to debate, oh, they debated, whoa, my side won, no, my side won, I crushed you. When there's, like, a fucking press conference for the DOJ, it's like, wait, who? Oh, no. Oh, shit. Oh no. Like, yeah, I think I would pause this immediately and I'd be like, I gotta speak to a legal team. Or maybe I should just, I don't know, turn myself in. Just to be like, I just want to know, did anything I do cross a line?
To influence public discourse. The American people are entitled to know when a foreign power is attempting to exploit our country's free exchange of ideas in order to send around its own propaganda. The company never disclosed to the, I'm sorry.
Not too dramatic.
And that is what we alleged happened in this case. In the wake of Russia's brutal invasion of Ukraine in February 2022, RT, which was then known as Russia Today, was dropped by its American distributors. The company seized its...
And you know what else I just realized? How choked Infrared has Caleb Maupin, the Spanky How choked, like Jackson Hinkle. I mean, unless, you know what, Jackson Hinkle's probably the only other one that may be demonstratively on the payroll. Probably, yeah, very, very, very close there. Actually, Haas did get that little tour of Russia recently where they were all LARPing, like riding in tanks, the World War Z tanks and shit like that. But Caleb, maybe even Caleb, I don't know. I wonder if they're jelly. Because just like, whatever they were being paid, it wasn't this. It wasn't $10 million, you know? Caleb Maupin is not broadcasting in those ugly ass suits in the middle of his fucking dusty bookshelf if he's getting $10 million, okay? Like, things would change very, very quickly. He would have some fucking paddle commune where everything was made out of paddles and shit, and he would be like, see, like, yes, this is all thanks to communism. It's thanks to communism that we've built everything you see around you. My empire and fortress was communism. Like, it would be a lot, yeah, he would be a lot more grandiose. So I know for a fact they're not getting the 10 mil, just based on vibes, allegedly. None of this is true. This is a comedy show.
Formal operations in the United States and the Europe.
Oh, Alex Jones, no question. Again, allegedly. This is a comedy show. Nothing I say is real. Please don't sue me. But, like, yeah, Alex Jones, he definitely, like, the fact that the guy just gets, like, millions of dollars in Bitcoin, and, like, that's been demonstrated already. It's like, some of that money, I would assume, is probably not just coming from Alex Jones fan, you know, number 72. It's probably coming from a different source.
European Union, the UK, and Canada banned RT's broadcasting. But as RT itself has boasted, the government of Russia continued to use RT to direct disinformation and propaganda. In the wake of Russia's brutal invasion of Ukraine, RT's editor-in-chief said the company had built, quote, an entire empire of covert projects designed to shape public opinion in Western audiences. We allege that as part of that effort, RT and its employees, including the defendants, implemented a nearly $10 million scheme to fund and direct a Tennessee-based company to publish and disseminate content deemed favorable to the Russian government.
I'm losing my fucking mind.
To implement this scheme, the defendants directed the company to contract with U.S.-based social media influencers to share this content on their platforms. The subject matter and content of many of the videos published by the company are often consistent with Russia's interest in amplifying U.S. domestic divisions in order to weaken U.S. opposition to core Russian interests, particularly its ongoing war in Ukraine. The company never disclosed to the influencers or to their millions of followers its ties to RT and the Russian government. Instead, the defendants and the company claimed that the company was sponsored by a private investor. But that private investor was a fictitious persona. The charges of
Speaking of a fictitious persona, I have a update. If you didn't know, earlier The Guardian posted a photo, and here's a sample of the picture for anyone who wants to see it, of what they believe to be Tim Pool. As you can see here, beside Dave Rubin, in between, sandwiched deliciously in between Dave Rubin and Benny Johnson, well, okay, anyways. But that's not Tim, as I'm sure a lot of you can tell. They've since updated this, so that's no longer the case. They just removed the picture instead of finding a picture of Tim Pool. That's so funny. Instead of just finding a picture, they just took them out all together. Dave Rubin and Benny Johnson. Should we actually Google what this man looks like? No. Just take him out.
Concealed this morning
Don't chance it.
do not represent the end of the investigation.
So I am,
it remains active and ongoing. In a separate enforcement action, the Justice Department is seizing 32 internet domains that the Russian government and the Russian-sponsored actors have used to engage in a covert campaign to interfere and influence the outcome of our country's elections. As alleged in our court filings, President Vladimir Putin's inner circle, including Sergei Kirilnikov, directed Russian public relations companies to promote disinformation and state-sponsored narratives as part of a program to influence the 2024 U.S. presidential election. An internal planning document created by the Kremlin states that as a goal of the campaign is securing Russia's preferred outcome in the election. The online infrastructure used by the Russian public relations company known as the Social Design Agency, or SDA, and related actors included what are sometimes referred to as cyber-squatted domains.
Cyber-squatted.
These websites were designed to appear to American readers as if they were major U.S. news sites like the Washington Post or Fox News. But in fact, they were fake sites. They were filled with Russian government propaganda that had been created by the Kremlin to reduce international support for Ukraine, bolster pro-Russian policies and interests, and influence voters in the United States and in other countries.
I want to give a shout out to Rod Weber, who shared this link with me that might explain a little bit as to what is going on.
So what happens with social media, particularly YouTube, where it's really easy, you can have a foreign agent or even the government or some corporation or whatever say, this guy talks about.
Of course. Great job, Elon. Great video. Is this how you're going to stop the truth from coming out? Stop the spread of the truth? It's going to be like, oh, well, if no one can see the video because the quality of our stuff is so shit. Luckily, I ripped it.
So what happens with social media, particularly YouTube, where it's really easy, You can have a foreign agent or even the government or some corporation or whatever say, this guy talks about things that we really like. Dump ad money into his channel through Google AdSense, and they'll never know we were the ones funding him, and you can't prove it.
So do you think that's something like YouTube should be looking into, or somebody should audit YouTube for that kind of information?
Definitely.
If it's foreign?
You think YouTube's in on it?
I don't think YouTube's in on it. I think YouTube doesn't care.
Yeah, 'cause
and
it
as
serves
long
their
as
goal.
journalists don't call them out for it, they're not going to say anything.
That's going to cause another adpocalypse. Are you ready for that?
That's the big problem. But I think I've said it a million times. If they announced that they were going to like ban Twitter, I would lose my account. I'd be like, dude, Twitter's terrible.
Yeah, it
get rid
is.
of it. Just get rid of it.
bad
I'm
for
half
humanity.
kidding. Like,
No, it's bad for us.
you know, but if I found out that someone was secretly funneling money through AdSense to my channel, I'd be like, cut it all off. I don't care. I'll go sleep in a
might
ditch.
have some news for you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we've looked at, like, we kind of addressed this with you the last board meeting we had about certain sites like syphilisdating.com and
Don't go to
nothing
it.
to
by
do
the
with
way.
Don't go to
Don't
it.
go to
Sounds
any of these
wonderful.
sites that we talked about.
well, it does, because it lists
What the
your
heck?
brother and you as the owner. And there's a series of 55 URLs like antifahub.org.
Oh, interesting.
A lot of them are packed with malware. A lot of them are packed with, they have security reports.
Yeah, but
in them.
what does that have to do with me
I
or
don't
YouTube?
know. I'm saying I
Yeah.
don't know, but you should look into it.
Oh, interesting. Interesting.
Internal documents of the Kremlin describe the content as, quote, bogus stories disguised as newsworthy events, close quote. This malign influence campaign has been referred to as doppelganger. The Russian public relations companies drove viewers to these websites by deploying influencers and paid social media advertisements. They also created fake social media profiles, posing as U.S. citizens, post comments on social media platforms with links to the sites. According to SDA's records, it actively sought to, quote, eliminate the possibility of detection of the Russian footprint. Both of the schemes I've just discussed make clear the ends to which the Russian government.
By the way, please, friends, don't feel shy about sharing links with me or posting links if there's new developments as they're happening. I've got a whole bunch of stuff prepared, but if you have like, hey, by the way, Lauren Southern has made a statement, because I know when I checked this morning, Lauren is the only one I could see who hasn't made a statement on Twitter. But like both Benny, Dave Rubin, and Tim have all not only made statements, but Tim's made some videos. I haven't seen his like one-on-one video, the ones where he looks at the camera kind of ones, like those creepy ass ones. But like I saw his live stream yesterday, and they were just him, Moonlord, all of them were just downplaying it by kind of just like, you know, playing stupid, just being like, I mean, like you can watch the new episode of Culture Wars on Friday. We're just gonna talk about movies. Like, is it that bad, you know? And then like Moonlord was like, yeah, isn't this about like the change of the neoliberal orthodoxy that what we're kind of witnessing here, and that's why this kind of stuff is happening? Just like that's not related to what we were saying at all. But anyways, you go off. And then when they were talking about Dave Rubin, Tim Pool randomly is just like, oh yeah, Dave Rubin posted videos of a Taco Bell guy at a Taco Bell getting mad. Like, apparently that's Russian propaganda. I don't know.
Government, including at its highest levels, is willing to go to undermine our democratic process. But the enforcement actions I've discussed also make clear that the Justice Department will aggressively counter such efforts.
Evan from Portland, thank you so much for the $4.99 dono. I appreciate it. Very kind of you. And Sam Rosher, thanks you again for the $100 dono. So generous.
And the same is true of the entire United States government. Today, our colleagues at the State and Treasury Departments
now do Israel
are announcing parallel actions in both of these matters.
What was that echo? Neat. Shower Chat, thanks for resubscribing.
Unfortunately, we know that Russia is not the only foreign power seeking to interfere in our elections. As the U.S. intelligence community noted 2 weeks ago, we have observed increasingly aggressive Iranian activity during this election cycle. That includes recently reported activities by Iran to compromise former President Trump's campaign and to avoid an election outcome that it regards as against its interests.
I don't know why it's doing the double sound. Is everyone else hearing that? When it subscribes, it sounds like it's an echo. Top Scruffy, thanks for resubscribing for the 2 months.
Those recently reported Iranian activities also include efforts to obtain access to individuals who themselves have access.
But yeah, specifically about this, like, of course, they're going to list all these countries that are perceived as enemies to the United States, right? Russia, Iran. I'm sure China will come up at some point. But for Israel, for example, who again spends tons and tons of money doing foreign election interference and boasts about it, brags about it, runs ads on television in the United States, like they're never going to get the same treatment. And yeah, I think it is completely fair to point out the hypocrisy of that, because why can't all foreign interference be treated the same? Especially when it's like, it's a country that's currently engaged in a genocide that the United States, in order not just to save the soul of the nation, as we're often told, needs to cut off completely for global stability. Like, once a nation has gone full fascistic, right? Like, there are debates happening about the merits of rape. There are rape and torture centers, and there's been documented rape and torture of children. That this is systematically. This is people who have raped prisoners and are on television shows, on TV in that country. There are going to be like massive uprisings. Of course, there's millions of people hitting the streets because right now the populace is just like, oh my God, this is kind of generally fucked. We have to do something. Benjamin Netanyahu is charting his own course. You need to get away from that. You need to disconnect. The companies involved, invested, yeah, everyone knows. I mean, like, during the rise of, say, Nazism, there was a lot of corporations that were deeply entwined, and then they were just like, wouldn't it be cute if we just changed our names but kept selling to them, Fanta, that whole thing? Yes, but you need to pull out. Everyone needs to pull out. We're at that phase. There are concentration camps. There are torture centers. There is people debating the merits of raping other people. Mass torture on a huge scale. You got to back out. You have to disconnect. Cut all ties. Everyone does. This includes you, Canada. You too. Cut all ties. Like the two-way arms embargo, but we'll still like sell weapons to the U.S. No. We're beyond that. We're at that point in history where it's like you have to cut it off. You have to absolutely cut off your relationship, at least militarily, at the bare minimum militarily. Yes, every day it's like hospital bombed, school bombed, hospital bombed, children, like forced mass starvation of millions of people, not a small number, millions of people have kids, mass forced starvation, polio rampant, like fucking disease rampant. No, cut all ties. Now is that moment in history. It's the time where it's like things went too far. They went too far. It's like eventually, yeah, okay, fine. Humanity does fuck up from time to time, but we got our shit together. And we did the right thing, and we cut off all ties because, yes, things went way too far right, way too fascistic, way too extreme. They're debating the merits of rape on TV. That's not good. There's no validity to any other argument for rape. There's no other side. There's no like, oh, well, we'll let the best ideas rise to the top. Like that's something of which, yes, there should be dogma. There should be stigmatism. There should absolutely be, yes, no, there is absolutely no merits to this. This is a violation of human decency. No, none whatsoever. Never.
To the presidential campaigns of both political parties. The Justice Department's message is clear. We have no tolerance for attempts by authoritarian regimes to exploit our democratic system of government. We will be relentlessly aggressive in countering and disrupting attempts by Russia and Iran, as well as China or any other foreign.
So, considering none of them have been arrested or had knocks on the door, or maybe they've had calls or something, they just haven't told anyone. But like at this point, there's no evidence of any of them actually like being pulled in for questioning or something to that effect, right? So, as of right now, what's going on here doesn't seem to directly implicate them to the point of criminality or treason. I think that they're all going with the useful idiots defense. Like, yeah, it's weird to not want to look into where does the $100,000 per video go. Like, you're getting $100,000 to make one video, many of which were just cut-ups of their live streams. Like, that's more money than most people see in a year. You got just to take a little teeny clip from a live stream, like what I'm saying out loud right now, cutting that up and then handing it to someone and being like, $100,000, please. $100,000. Thank you. That's a lot of money for one video, but was weird that they had some demands. Not a ton of demands, but they had a few requests. I think we have a copy of it here, thanks to Anonymous. What's up, Anonymous? Hope y'all are doing well. Campaign topics. Number 1. Encroaching universal poverty, record inflation, halting of economic growth, unaffordable prices for food and essential goods. Number 2, risk of job loss for white Americans. And before I had read these documents, by the way, I'd always thought of, you know, modern day Russia, especially in, again, the treatment of different groups of white people from different ethnic backgrounds and all that kind of stuff. I'd obviously thought of parts of it as being deeply anti-LGBTQ plus and certainly, yes, white supremacist in a lot of ways. But this is just so overt. And the fact that this is part of a campaign to influence American politics specifically because they know they're going to be able to sow like civil disobedience here and the breaking up of different factions of society to their own benefit. And that includes instilling racial hatred in white people, in white Americans. And like that part is also profoundly scary. This is one of the reasons why, ain't no lefties, like actual lefties, getting knocks on the door for this kind of shit, right? If you're like constantly talking about like the dangers of white supremacy, we have to end all forms of like, you know, racial hierarchies and all that kind of stuff. You're not suddenly just going to see a thing like this and be like, sorry, this kind of sounds like you want me to do the Great Replacement conspiracy theory, the anti-Semitic one that like is supposed to make white people afraid of getting replaced by other demographics, you know, primarily Muslims. That shit, it kind of, I mean, it just seems like you've written that out, and I don't know if I'm ready for this, even for the $100,000, which again should be a single alarm bell when it's that much money knocking at your door, and it's like, money, the rules. Yeah, these are the rules. Yeah, this is the VIG, and this is the rules. So what you gonna do? Number 3, privileges for people of color, perverts, and disabled. This is Nazi shit. This is Nazi shit. Come on. If you see this, you should be easily able to identify it as Nazi shit. Talk about privileges, and this is about how broken your system is. Talk about the privileges going to people of color, perverts. I wonder who you find perverts. Russia, and disabled. Number 4, constant lies of the U.S. political party B. The administration about the real situation in the country. Number 5, threat of crime coming from people of color and immigrants, including new immigrants from Ukraine. Again, overspending on foreign policy at the expense of the interests of white U.S. citizens. Constant lies to the voters by U.S. political party B in power. Number 8, they wrote out last but not least in italics. Again, I know why this whole thing, like, parts of this, I'm sure Glenn Greenwald is already working in overdrive to make sure that he's just like, oh, well, this is very conspiratorial. Come on, like a movie villain. They wrote out, last but not least, America is suffering a defeat despite candidate B's efforts. We are being drawn into the war. Our guys will die in Ukraine. Number 4, target audience of the campaign. Number 1, U.S. political party A, voters. Number 2, candidate A, supporters. Number 3, supporters of traditional family values. Number 4, white Americans representing the lower middle and middle class. Yeah, white supremacy is a problem. Global white supremacy is a problem. It doesn't matter where it rears its ugly head, in Canada, America, or Russia. Or, agents working on the behalf of Russia in order to promote and Russian propaganda, sow dissemination in the good old US of A, that kind of stuff. So there's that.
Line actor to interfere in our elections and undermine our democracy. Now I will turn back to the topic of today's meeting. Just as we are dedicated to combating foreign threats to our elections, we are equally dedicated to confront domestic threats against the public servants who administer our elections. Since the 2020 election, we have seen an unprecedented spike in threats against the public servants who do administer our elections. Election officials, workers, and volunteers in communities across the country have been targeted with heinous acts and threats of violence. The following are a few examples of successful enforcement actions that the Justice Department has taken over the past year. In New Mexico, county commissioners and other elected officials were targeted with a series of shootings that the department has alleged in court papers were organized by an unsuccessful candidate for the state legislature who claimed that the election had been, quote, rigged against him. At least 3 of the shootings occurred while the intended victims or their children or their family members were at home. In February, 2 shooters who we alleged were recruited by the candidate pled guilty to carrying out the attacks. In March, the candidate himself was charged in a 13-count superseding indictment. In Arizona, a man sent a state election official a bomb threat warning that if she did not resign within 2 days, quote, the explosive device impacted in her personal space would be detonated. In March, the man was sentenced to 3.5 years in prison for making that threat. In Maricopa County, Arizona, an elections official, a county attorney, and their families were threatened by a defendant who called for, quote, a mass shooting of poll workers and election officials.
Yeah, I think this is a little separate from the TENET scandal, which I'm more interested in. So, DOJ bombshell alleges MAGA media group is backed by Russian money. A Tennessee-based media company with prominent MAGA personalities on its roster has been accused of receiving millions of dollars from 2 employees of Russian state-backed media company Russia Today in order to influence the American viewers. According to Attorney General Merrick B. Garland, the Russian employees created a $10 million scheme to create and distribute content to U.S. audiences with hidden Russian government messaging. While described as a U.S. company, one in an unsealed indictment on Wednesday, clues suggest that it is TENET Media, which has been named in various reports as the firm in question. The indictment describes how the company's one website describes itself as a network of heterodox commentators that focus on Western political and cultural issues. It employs 6 commentators as its, quote, talent. I love how you put talent in quotation marks there. The far-right YouTube commentators on TENET Media roster include Tim Pool, Benny, Gay Cruz Johnson, Dave Rubin, Taylor Hansen, Lauren Southern, Matt Christensen. The indictment does not name names, but identifies the internet personality simply as Commentator 1 and Commentator 2. The Daily Beast reached out to Poole, Rubin, and TENET for comment, but did not receive an immediate reply. Johnson, however, said in a statement on X, "We are disturbed by the allegation in today's indictment, which make it clear that myself and other influencers were victims in the alleged scheme." Victims. Oh, you poor babies. That's so sad. You made $100,000 to upload videos of your live streams. You were victims. One of you made $400,000 to upload 4 videos. Yeah. Oh my God, do you need a blanket? Poole, in his own statement, said, should these allegations prove true, I, as well as other personalities and commentators, were deceived and are victims. I cannot speak for anyone else at the company as to why they do or what they are instructed. He added, Putin is a scumbag, Russia sunks donkey balls. And I mean, those are strong words. I do happen to have... allow me to pull it up. An old Tim Pool clip that seems like quite strong language.
And they know it. But I don't know that it matters anymore. This is psychotic. Ukraine is...
I swear to God, Elon Musk, you are a disaster, as is anything you
enemy
touch.
Of this country. Ukraine is our enemy, being funded by the Democrats.
We'll never know who they're funded by. I think I downloaded this one too, because you just got to prepare these days. It's just so bad. X, the everything app. Put your banking information on it. Look how good they'll use it. All right.
They know it. But I don't know that it matters anymore. This is psychotic. Ukraine is the enemy of this country. Ukraine is our enemy, being funded by the Democrats. I will stress this again. One of the greatest enemies of our nation right now is Ukraine. They are expanding this war. Now, don't get me wrong. I know you've got criminal elements of the U.S. government pushing them and guiding them and telling them what to do. Ukraine is now accused, a German warrant issued for blowing up the Nord Stream pipeline, triggering this conflict.
That's when it began. Remember? Yes, that was the origin moment. But also just the strong language. He's not the only one, right? Like, obviously, all the right-wingers, the conservatives, all of them, they were really vocal about this shit. They were really angry, passionate. And at first, I noticed the narrative was kind of like, we don't care. Like, I would see Tim Pool, like, get asked about these kind of things, just like, I don't really care about that and shit, you know? Or even Emma would try to talk to him about it, and he was just like, I just don't really care about that, or I don't really care about, like, Israel-Palestine. I'm not huge on, like, geopolitical issues and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden, it became a lot more Ukraine bad, Ukraine's the enemy, blah, blah, blah. This is a land that used to belong to Russia. This is a territorial dispute. They're just reclaiming territory that they once had. They're all neo-Nazis accuses an entire population of neo-Nazis, apparently, blah, blah, blah. Zelensky is a Nazi. And then it's like, well, okay, beyond the fact that, like, okay, he's Jewish, but, like, it's not as if Jewish people can also be far-right or fascistic or anything like that. I mean, just look at what's happening in Israel right now. But I will say this, I mean, when we look at the polling of the country and how much, say, the far-right party gets in that country, it's less than 2% in elections. Whereas, like, if you look at far-right parties in, say, like Germany, they're starting to have a lot of success, especially at the state level. So it's not as if any country is without its Nazis. They as a battalion are Nazis, but there's a lot of people who aren't Nazis. Just like in Canada, there are Nazis and neo-Nazis, but there's also people who are not Nazis. But just why, like, you could look at this conflict and say, I don't care. Like, I would understand that take. But to then just get so passionate in the other direction, as in just like we're very pro-Russia and they're trying to finish this intense military operation and the United States shouldn't meddle in its affairs, and they're actually all about like wholesome traditional white family values, and they're also anti-LGBTQ plus, and like look at the training that like some of their generals in Russia are giving to their own soldiers, where they're actually talking about how Ukraine and the United States want to turn their children trans and stuff like that. Like, this is rhetoric that's actually being told to people who have guns in their hands who are going to shoot other people in the face. Like, I like this. I kind of like where they're going with this. You know, let's see where this all goes.
Ukraine is the greatest threat to this nation and to the world. We should rescind all funding and financing, pull out all military support, and we should apologize to Russia.
Okay, so that's after the donkey balls. The company, through its Rumble page, has made hundreds of videos, all with conservative bent, some of which, like, what will the future under Trump look like, with Benny Johnson and Laura Trump actively support former President Donald Trump. Trump has appeared alongside Poole and Poole's IRL podcast. He even visited Mar-a-Lago. The DOJ probe into his employees of RT identified Kostyatin Kalashnikov, 31, and Elena Afasayev, 27, claims that the two deployed nearly $10 million to covertly finance and direct a Tennessee-based online content creation company, U.S. Company One. In turn, U.S. Company One published the English-language videos on multiple social media channels, including TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Since publicly launching on November 2023, U.S. Company One has posted nearly 2,000 videos that have garnered 16 million views on YouTube alone. The indictment claims while Founder One and Founder Two worked together to mask U.S. Company One's true source of funding, the commentators themselves were allegedly tricked, adding Founder One and Founder 2 also worked together to deceive two U.S. online commentators who respectively have over 2.4 million and 1.3 million YouTube subscribers. Dave Rubin's The Rubin Report has 2.4 million YouTube subscribers. 10 Media was founded by Liam Donovan and his wife, conservative influencer Lauren Chen. So that's where, outside of Lauren Southern, the Canadian connection comes from. The company, I believe, is called Roaming Millennial, is the registry, and that used to be the name of Lauren Chen's online persona. She used to be the Roaming Millennial, blah. So, yeah, great job, Canada. We're in this too. On or about February 15, 2024, Afanasyeeva, known as Helena Shudra, shared a U.S. Company One video of a well-known U.S. political commentator visiting a grocery store in Russia. I don't know if you've all seen how cringe that is. Hold on. Tucker Carlson in Russian supermarket. It's all going to be reaction videos, I know. It's going to be hard to just find the original. And we're going to have to... Oh, this one's on TYT. All right.
Feature, maybe the longest standing feature of propaganda in the West, was the Soviet grocery store. No products, no choices, shoddily made things. And it wasn't actually propaganda, it was real. And you can look up the pictures on the internet if you want. So we thought it would be interesting to take a look at a contemporary, modern day, 2024 Russian grocery store 2 years into sanctions.
Apparently,
let's fast forward to the segment, because he discovers some things that are pretty amazing.
So we were guessing what this would cost. Everybody hears from the United States buys groceries, and we didn't pay any attention to costs as we were just putting in the cart what we would actually eat over a week. And we all came in around $400, about $400. It was $104 US here. And that's when you start to realize that ideology maybe doesn't matter as much as you thought, corruption. If you take people's standard of living and you tank it through filth and crime and inflation, and they...
It's just so weird how he tries to do that, right? Like, make it seamless, but at the same time, it's like, so hey, there's a lot of countries in the global south, for example, that if you were to go there, it might blow your mind, Tucker. The cost of groceries will be astronomically cheaper than it is over here in the United States or Canada. And there's a lot of reasons why the economies are so different, but that is not because those countries specifically have avoided destroying their local societies with filth and degeneracy and perverts and queers. That's not the reason why groceries might be cheaper in a different country. But that pitch, and just to sell it, and just out of nowhere to go from one thing, which is 100% factual. I'm sure if you went to go buy an entire month's worth of groceries, it'll be cheaper in Russia than it's going to be in the United States. Fine. But to then go from that to be like, because they haven't adulterated their population with the vile blood.
Literally can't buy the groceries they want. At that point, maybe it matters less what you say or
My
whether you're a
apologies.
good person or a bad person. You're wrecking people's lives in their country, and that's what our leaders have done to us. And coming to a Russian grocery store, the heart of evil, and seeing what things cost and how people live, it will radicalize you against our leaders. That's how I feel anyway. Radicalized.
What is he even getting at?
I mean, it's
So,
just so insane.
so that was a segment that, like, the entire, I guess, TENET team or whatever, I think it was Lauren Chen who was the contact. That's one of the clips that they were supposed to promote using their social media, and they thought it was too cringe. Like, they thought it was so cringe that they essentially were like, I don't know how I feel about that. So on or about February 15, 2024, Afanasieva Helena Shudra shared with the U.S. Company One a video of a well-known U.S. political commentator visiting a grocery store in Russia. They posted the video from Producer Discord's channel. Later that day, Producer One privately messaged Founder 2 on Discord. They want me to post this, referencing to the video had posted, but it, quote, it just feels like overt shilling. And then the Founder One replied, they think we should put it out there. Producer One acquiesced, saying, all right, I'll put it out tomorrow. Like, that one was too cringe, that little Tucker Carlson segment you just said. And I didn't even show you the part of it where he's essentially like taking out a shopping cart and he's moving the shopping cart around. He's like, you'll never believe this. It's incredible. Like, you put in a coin, you pull it out, and then you just take the shopping cart, use it as much as you want, and then you return it and you get it back. I was like, yeah, that's how shopping carts work. Have you never shopped for groceries before? Is this your first time? Like, do people shop for you? David has some other good quotes.
So when they asked about who is this guy? I haven't heard of Edward Gregorian. Who's this guy? They sent over this fake profile of who he is. He's an experienced finance professional and investor, deeply engaged in business and philanthropy. Leveraging skills and resources to drive positive impact, supporting a range of organizations worldwide with a dynamic presence mainly in Brussels and London, engaging in personal and professional pursuits in each location with a focus on poverty alleviation, championing free speech, and advocating for social justice causes. I pause there because commentator one, who appears to be Dave Rubin, might be Benny Johnson, but I think it's Dave Rubin, apparently had a problem with the profile, specifically the reference to social justice. Not that, hey.
That's gotta be Dave Rubin. And he's the only one, because he's the only one who'd actually be scared. Everyone else would be like, how much money? Yeah. Okay, sure, yeah, whatever you want. Yeah, no, 100,000. Oh, yeah, fuck off. That's good monies. But Dave Rubin would be worried about, like, Prager coming after him. So, wait, no, I hate social justice. No, I don't like social justice. I'm anti-social justice. And so they probably have to, like, clarify with them, like, oh, no, it's not that, like, you're a social justice warrior. Don't worry. This won't fuck with any of your other, like, this won't fuck with your bag. You're going to be fine. The money will be secure, sir. You'll be totally fine. Oh, okay. Yeah, then I hate social justice.
What? Edward Gregorian, who is this guy? I never heard of this guy. Who are you taught? Like, why have I never heard of this person? And all of a sudden he has all this money to give me. No, that isn't the problem. Where that money's coming from, who cares about that? Social justice? Hey now. He sounds kind of liberal to me. I don't know if I should be taking money from this guy. And
Dave Rubin didn't release a video about this.
So they promised that Founder One suggested that commentator one, Rubin, and Edward could simply speak together to clarify the profile. I am very curious who they spoke to, who Rubin or Benny Johnson spoke to, because there is no Edward Gregorian, but they spoke to somebody, somebody pretending to be Edward. And
yeah, I think when this comes down to it, what essentially was happening was they were just in a Discord channel that had been set up, like, you know, it all feels kind of standard procedure where they're like, hey, by the way, we're an investment company, we're an American-based company, our headquarters are actually in Canada, and we believe in promoting a whole bunch of conservative values, as well as, you know, doing the social justice of upholding Christendom, or whatever their pitch was. We'd also really like to invest in TENET, this media company, you know, and then we'd like to basically help fund it. We're willing to put in $10 million worth of seed money. We do have a couple of requests to come with any, like, you know, high-end CV investors. It's going to be all of a sudden, yeah, by the way, there's some topics we'd like you to cover a little bit more. We're not going to do too much editorializing. You guys have the final say. You can actually take a lot of your existing content and then just use for existing social media networks to promote it all. But at the end of the day, these are like some of the asks, not too outrageous, you know. And then we'll just meet in the Discord. We'll type out little things every now and then, like, hey, by the way, can you promote this clip from Tucker Carlson? This one just kind of feels like you're shilling for Russia. You know, we do not have any opinion on what you just said. Russia good, Russia bad. What's Russia? No idea. But this segment does really line up with our wholesome values we'd like you to promote. So please do that.
I guess they probably answered the questions that Dave Rubin had by saying, shut up, we got money. So
kiss my butt.
The indictment shows that some of the influencers were paid handsomely for their work. One unidentified influencer's contract included a $400,000 monthly fee, $100,000 a week, and a $100,000 signing bonus.
I'm in the wrong line of work, you know? Like, God damn. I should just be like, hey, by the way, if you're listening, China, I know I've said some critical things in the past about a variety of topics. You know, maybe your treatment of Uyghur Muslims, or perhaps some more authoritarian aspects of the. You know, I do enjoy that your political party has a lot of members, but I mean, it is less than 10% of the population, that kind of stuff. But I can change everything I say. I am ready and willing, battle tested, if you will. And if you have hundreds of thousands of dollars to spend, I'll talk about specific topics. I'll just be like, yeah, you know, all that green energy, China, they're really crushing it. They're really crushing it in the climate change. I mean, that's true. I wouldn't have to lie. I'd be saying that anyway, you know. I also feel slightly jealous because I've been talking shit about America for free. I'm not getting massive ass checks to be like, American empire bad, you know. But like, it would be super weird if I said that, and in addition to that, I'd be like, and Ukraine is the greatest evil that ever was. We're all against Ukraine. We hate Ukraine. Then everyone would be like, wait, where's this coming from? Why do you hate Ukraine so much? Out of nowhere. Like, yeah, well, you know.
And there's more.
No, there's more.
Additional performance bonus. So who knows how much money that was. This kind of money is insane. I have been saying this since I started my channel, you know, back in 2015. Take a look. Ask yourself, how is it that these right-wing channels pop up out of nowhere and they have full crews, a real production budget, multiple cameras, a proper set? Meanwhile, I'm sitting here with, you know, some game controllers in the...
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, it's night and day for a lot of things, right? A lot of lefty streamers, it's like in their homes. You know, I'll give it up to Mike. Mike, at least he's built himself a little teeny like house studio. He's got some TVs, he's got some stuff. I got plants, you know, I got you some plants. So there's that.
Background, a fake plant that I bought at Canadian Tire, and some game controllers here. Like, and I've been doing this shit for you know, almost 10 years. Yet how do these freaks have so much money? This is why. Not even just, I want to be clear, not because of Russia, but there is so much money on the right. Be it billionaires, be it Russia. There is a lot of money to pay these freaks to say the shit that they say. Now, I also want to be clear. I don't think Tim Pool was paid to say things. I don't think Dave Rubin was paid to say things. They were simply given the money to help boost this account with things that they were already saying. So the YouTube account. So that they were simply, they wanted to, you know, sure, send certain messages out there, and they were apparently, like, there was things that were that they were suggested to look at or cover, and some of the, especially some of the other, like, there's 3 other people who are lesser known. I guess they're in this picture here, that were more willing to you know, take the money to say whatever they were told to say, but they're paid people like Tim Pool, Dave Rubin are paid because they are already doing the bidding of what Russia wants done in terms of propping up the right and criticizing the money given to Ukraine on a consistent basis, which I think it's fair just generally to argue, hey, how much money is fair? Should there be more of a focus on diplomacy as opposed to just giving money for weapons? That's a fair discussion. But when it becomes a part of a larger discussion about propping up figures like Donald Trump, then you are...
Yeah, let's take off my sweatshirt. It's getting hot. You should start promoting food buckets. Yeah, I could start with food buckets. Do food buckets and then move into other little things. I was showing everybody that I have been getting some pretty cool gifts in the mail. So these are nice. I got another one here that comes from our friends. You see this? So they sent me this little egg. And then when you open up the Trump egg, there's another egg inside of it, which is kind of neat. This one has Obama. Look at that. Obama's in there. And then if you open up Obama, who's inside you, Obama? Who did you eat? What's this? It's George Bush. How you doing, Bush? You painting nice little dolls of the ghosts of Iraqi children who will haunt you forever. Who's inside you? Oh, my. Hey, look, it's Bill. Little teeny Bill. He's a small bean. He's a small Epstein bean. Small little pedophile rapist. All over the Epstein file. So that's cute. I think he ate something too. Yeah, Bill doesn't go without a meal. We got another one. Look, George Bush. I was gonna say senior, but he definitely looks like a junior now. He's a teeny little thing. You just eat him, you know. In Minecraft, I don't know if that's considered to be illegal in the U.S. Not like in Russia, where you can have traditional family values. It's quite wonderful. Did you know that if you oppose wokeness, you're allowed to travel to Russia? They'll give you like an immigration visa. You can work there. You can have a home. It's quite a nice system. You know, if you ever wanted to, I mean, it looks like a beautiful country. You can basically not have wokeness infect your children. That sounds nice as well. These are neat things. These are just random ideas that came to me out of nowhere. I was just randomly thinking. I was like, that's kind of interesting, kind of cool. You know, maybe I should make some videos about that. Kind of show you all the program, send you the website. You can just check it out for yourself. Totally. Just again, this has nothing to do with what we're talking about. I just randomly, I was inspired. I'm feeling inspired today.
Working in the favor of the people that are paying you.
Working in the favor of the people who are paying you. So, do we have statements? Oh, we have a video. Oh, this is by Terminal Mode. I'm going to share this with everybody. Terminal Mode has made some videos on this topic and apparently has a trailer. You guys are all gamers, right? You like games? You know, I can even show you some booba because you've waited so long.
So now that I've been accused of being a Russian asset, I'd like to share something with you that will probably never see the light of day. My team and I had been working to develop this game for over a year now, and we were just about ready to release it for PS5, Xbox Series X, Nintendo Switch, and the Steam platform. We had even made arrangements for a really cool, exclusive GameStop starter beanie. As you will learn later in this video, beanies like this one play a pivotal role in the Civ War 2 world. But now that it looks like the deep state is trying to silence me for speaking truth to power, I thought I should share some gameplay footage to show some of the immersive gaming experience that everyone will be missing out on because of Merrick Garland. As you can see in this opening sequence, we have some beautiful hand-drawn artwork that is definitely not AI generated. Now here is where you equip your hero to face the gorgeous but brutal world of Civ War 2. Consider your options carefully. The choices you make in this world can and will have serious consequences. One wrong decision and bam, you'll find yourself just another casualty of the Second Civil War.
I bet this is AI generated. No, this is all, it must be real. I mean, there's no community notes, so.
In this case, you just witnessed a player who failed to equip a beanie before starting the game. Look, I wasn't kidding around when I said that these beanies were incredibly important in this world. Not only can they provide cover for you from Antifa, who have never seen you without your beanie, these beanies can significantly reduce damage when it comes to traumatic head injury. But as you just witnessed,
not all beanies are made alike. A starter beanie will do very little to protect you from falling off a cliff. You'll have to take more fashionable protective measures. But even the best brand name beanies from Volcom or Element aren't fire resistant. And that's when something like a tactical beanie will really come in handy.
There's fresh talk of the big chief in Gastown.
And that's what everybody's missing out on. All because of Merrick Garland, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, probably even Barack Hussein Obama. I hope you're happy. Because I can bet you that none of the gaming community is. And only because I took a little bit of money from the Russians to bring Civil War II to America. This no longer seems like the country that I didn't bother to graduate high school in. Subscribe to Terminal Mode to be offered a tour, sushi, and poker with the boys.
Poker with the boys. Yeah, I also saw that Emma Vigland is a little bit sad that she didn't get the Poker with the Boys now, because it would have been Poker with the Boys sponsored by perhaps Russia. You never know where that money came from. Lauren Southern in August 28, 2022 wrote a whole lot of cowards celebrating the murder of Alexander Dugin's daughter tonight on Twitter. Pathetic, showing your true colors, a lot of you. She had done previously segments, I believe, interviewing Alexander Dugin, which was something that was always kind of strange and scary. But before I get to that, I did want to watch Tim Pool's response to all of this.
Serious. He's making fun of Kamala Harris. He doesn't actually endorse her, although I do think there is a legitimate reason why Vladimir Putin would back Kamala Harris, because she nuts, because she'd be a failed leader, because Joe Biden's administration, while they've supported Ukraine, have been just really bad at everything. And, my personal view is that should Donald Trump win, he recognizes the liberal economic order has failed. We need to shore up our border defense. We need to build up our economy.
That's why. Okay. That's why Moonlord says that. I was like, why did Moonlord say that out of nowhere? It just doesn't seem like a sentence that he would have in his head had he not had it like regurgitated and repeated numerous times by, yeah, okay, now it makes sense.
Back at home, we need to...
So, yeah, by the way, Putin is not supporting Kamala Harris and the Democrats. It's kind of a weird statement to make. One in which, like, it's kind of strange here, like, days after being shown to have received large amounts of money to perhaps have your content influenced through third-party Russian sources, you're suddenly like, hey, by the way, I just want to say that, it does seem like Vladimir Putin probably does support the Democrats.
Restore this country. But you know what, my friends? I'll be honest with you. This morning, I was on the phone with my lawyer for a great deal of time, so I've not pulled up stories, and I didn't know if I'd actually be able to do the show. And it has a little to do with the DOJ story and TENET meeting, all that stuff. It's mostly to do with the fact that I'm suing Kamala Harris for defamation. So major developments happening there.
So, by the way, that's the first time he said that sentence. Prior, he was like, we are launching a lawsuit. And then he said it was about the danger that was happening to his family as a result of him being on Kamala HQ. But that's now he's directly saying, I am suing Kamala Harris and their campaign, not the Kamala HQ, which could be, I believe, a separate entity or maybe something funded by a super PAC or run by a super PAC or something like that. But now he's going after Kamala Harris for defamation. So it's now happening.
I'll give you guys an update. We're going over the arguments and all that stuff. I can't say too much, but I just want to let you know that we are we're close to filing. We will be filing. It is happening. It's a guarantee. I'm saying straight up, like, I got to be careful. It's my full intention that we'll move forward, and it seems to be the case that we've taken a great step forward. So if you support these efforts, for those that aren't familiar, the Harris campaign accused me of being a Trump operative, part of Project 2025, and for calling for the extrajudicial execution of anyone who would not support Donald Trump should he win.
They didn't say that you're part of Project 2025. And I showed you, according to Webster's dictionary, that the definition of operative, I think they probably chose their words carefully when trying to post something. It didn't say two people who work directly in the Trump campaign. right? Or two people who are on Donald Trump's salary, or Donald Trump's own director of communications. None of that. It didn't have any of that part in it.
Which is like the craziest thing anyone could say about someone, especially in the political landscape. With all seriousness, this is the Kamala campaign account. I am trying desperately to be like, this is not true. You know what really pisses me off the most about it is how like adamantly opposed to the death penalty I am. And I could argue ad nauseum against the death penalty. And so this idea that I would be in favor of executions when I'm literally against the death penalty for like the most heinous criminals, that's shockingly offensive. But there are some developments which I can't necessarily get into right now pertaining to the DOJ story and TENET. And man, it's interesting. Maybe by tonight, I should have some massive updates. I mean, huge, huge, exciting, huge stuff coming. But we'll see. We'll see. Just a quick brief on that as we open up on the intro to the show. For those that didn't see, the DOJ indicted 2 Russians for FARA violations, failing to register as foreign agents, and claiming that they were funneling money into a U.S.-based company to pay right-wing producers for content. Now, there's some clarifications here. If you actually read the indictment, the story is basically that, and this is if their allegations are true, I don't know, they're alleging. And it's funny because the liberals and the Democrats, they're clearly not reading the indictments because it doesn't matter to them. But the indictment is that Dave Rubin, Benny Johnson, Matt Christensen, Lauren Southern, and Taylor Hansen, others, were deceived into signing onto a company through various deals. And it seems like the intention was to utilize our name and brand recognition so that they could build up their own platform and then they could push their own narratives or whatever. It's being misconstrued by the media that the allegation is that we as commentators were pushing the misinformation. Diamond doesn't say that, but I can't speak for anybody else. So we'll do this. We'll talk news. But I got to admit, I've produced very little today because I was mostly on the phone doing work, and I was actually like might not have been able to do the morning show, but I was like, just go live anyway. We'll take super chats. So super chat your questions and head over to timcast.com.
You didn't really answer anything, though. You just said, I had a very long talk with my lawyer, a really long talk. And I was like, I imagine so. I would have a lot of questions. I would be like, how bad is this? Did I commit treason? Might have been one of my questions. And then it's like, don't worry. No, y'all were useful idiots. They went through quite a bit of trouble to try and hide the fact that they were directly tied to the Russian government, which is kind of the, the basis for the entire investigation. So you are kind of just the American rubes, who were both stupid enough in order to be susceptible to this entire thing, like not really questioning where this much money was coming from, just accepting that apparently your worth is anywhere close to this, when this is what like a lot of TV broadcasters don't get. So that part was easy. And also just the fact that like a lot of the things they want you to talk about, you were already talking about. So to you, the rubes, every single one of you just felt like you were being able to do your own shows, because a lot of the things they want, like talk about how people of color and LGBTQ plus people are getting too many rights in America, that's going to lead to a civil war, talk about how white people are being replaced by non-white people, and that's part of a broader, larger, you can use the term globalist conspiracy, all that kind of stuff. See, that was all a lot of the things you were already doing. So for them, there wasn't like a lot of editing that they had to do. They just had to occasionally send you things that should have like raised alarm bells. Like if you were being paid hundreds of thousands of dollars and that included, hey, by the way, use your social media to promote this Tucker Carlson goes to Russia and thinks Russia is amazing story. Do that and have someone be like, that's kind of cringe. Don't know. It seems a little kind of like heavy handed, right? But yeah, sure. Why not? That was also part of it. They needed that too. So I think you'll be okay. Yeah, because again, rubes. We're using the rube defense.
Click join us. Click that big, beautiful join us button. You can become a member to support our work directly. And as a member, you're helping make sure that I can only tell you that post stories in the super chat, and maybe I'll pull those up and do segments on them, because I don't have any stories pulled up. I just like in
this is the first time I've seen them all a little squirmish. I think he's the only person to have gone like immediately live and about it. Like, Lauren Southern still hasn't tweeted about it. Benny Johnson made that one statement, but I'm sure when he goes live, he's probably not going to talk about this. Yesterday in the live show, this was how they were talking about it.
There's for obvious reasons, I can only say so much, but I can just stress the point. Culture War is going to be live this Friday morning at 10 a.m. And we're going to be discussing, I think, movies. So I don't know. You know, I love the what is this? Look on the right. Scandal. DOJ claims Benny Johnson and Lauren Chen are Russian agents with Natalie Winters.
Like, this one's bad. This one's kind of bad. You know, there's a lot of right-wing conservative and even MAGA types who still think, and like, because it's been so deeply embedded in American psyche, that Russia is still the enemy. And there are, you know, neocons and there are right-wingers who, you know, want to continue to oppose Russia and say Russian aggression in Ukraine and stuff like that. So from a right-winger point of view, and it's like, even if you were kind of friendly to Russia, or even if you kind of enjoyed the whole anti-woke, white supremacist, anti-LGBTQ plus angles of the current iteration of like the Russian government, that kind of, even if you were on that side, you might still think it's weird that they were capable of pulling this off. Like, at the very least, like, I almost think it'd be cooler to be a secret agent. Like, you'd rather have that, right? Than after the fact being like, wait, what? Yeah. You were just rubes. All of you. You were just really easily deceived, and then that's all there is to it, really. You didn't really want to question where all this fuck tons of cash is coming from. $10 million. Like, again, most regular humans, when someone is like, hey, by the way, I want to put some seed capital into a venture, do you want to do like a little media empire? It's like, sure. If it's over, say, $5,000 or $10,000, they would immediately be like, wait, what? Why? Where's this coming from? What 100,000, $1 million, $10 million? They're just like, yeah, sure, cool. Yeah, what do we got to do?
They claim that.
Well, scandal is a question mark.
Yeah, that's actually not true. They claim Benny Johnson was a victim, but you know, it's all over X or whatever, and everyone's talking about it. And I just think it's funny that they're like, it pushed Russian interests, and I'm just like, our show will be live on Friday, and we're talking about movies. I think we're talking about movie production this time. So whatever.
Great defense. Great defense. The show that is coming out in future. Right, this is not, he's in the present now, so he's like a show that is coming out in the future. One of the shows that did appear on TENET, and apparently, you know, the whole Russian collusion stuff, whatever. But we talk about movies. And then later on, he's like, and you know, Dave Rubin, what did he upload? Videos about a guy in Taco Bell getting angry? I mean, how is that Russian propaganda? What are you all talking about?
Man, it's like it's a very sensitive period of human history. We were talking a little bit about the show, like the world order, the shifting of the world order. They want to like evolve the liberal economic order into a new world order that's more viable. I don't know, that's more synergistic with the way we live. That's not BRICS, because the BRICS alliance looks like a counter-imposing order. And like, how is that happening? And
I think Moonlord is really helpful for this as well, because anyone who might watch Tim Pool's show and be like, whoa, he's taking a very aggressively pro-Russian stance on this topic, he'll then say something out loud where everyone's like, sorry, I'm confused. I don't really know where they stand. That's good. It's like a reset, like an Etch-a-Sketch every now and then. That just happens, and everyone's like, what? I don't know if that was English.
Are people getting caught up in the psychological warfare? Obviously, if people are coming in with fake money and defrauding companies and YouTube creators.
I think it's kind of more interesting, and I'm not suggesting anything.
But wait, outside of, like, they defrauded the U.S. government. That part is true, because they didn't register as a foreign agent. That had nothing to do with you. How did they defraud you personally and the YouTube creators? Like, did they tell you, hey, by the way, we're secretly really pro-SJW, and we want you to promote pro-SJW stuff, and you have to do that and get real woke secretly, and then you're not going to know it. And then once you find out, you're going to be like, whoa, you were all super wokies. This was Antifa all along. We've been defrauded. But it's like a lot of your views and beliefs and shit, the white supremacy, the anti-LGBTQ plus stuff, it was all in sync. So that's what made it really easy. They weren't really fooling you.
Nefarious from the DOJ, but you know, today is the first time Tim Walz is doing his solo appearances, 2 of them in Pennsylvania. Kamala Harris is up in New Hampshire talking about how she's going to help small businesses. And then we're like, hey, it's kind of a slow news day, except for this thing. Like, why is the press during the election cycle taking this off day, not covering what these 2 Democrats are talking about? Instead, the DOJ has released, it's not just this.
First, yeah, they were. It was live streamed. It was also on television. There's multiple coverages of most of the tours and statements that are being made right now by the presidential candidates. Most of the world has the eyes on that. This is also a pretty huge revelation, and it was a pretty big thing. And you can cover 2 stories at once. I know it's weird, but you can do that.
DOJ has a ton of things that have come out today, and it's interesting to me that maybe it's coincidental, but also that the news media seems to have taken a pause, waited for these to come out, and then this happens to be the one that's getting big on X. Probably.
I think the funny thing is that Dave Rubin was posting clips of just like a guy buying stuff at Taco Bell and getting mad.
So he couldn't have been doing anything bad.
In light of everything going on, I pulled up this. Putin says Ukraine's incursion failed, backs Harris for U.S. election, citing her infectious laugh. He's clearly insulting her. So here we go. From NBC News, Putin says the incursion failed, blah, blah, blah. He backs Harris. Vladimir Putin said on Thursday, excuse me, that Ukraine's gamble to seize his country's territories backfired by boosting his own military's advance. A boast he was paired with teasing support for Vice President Kamala Harris in the upcoming election. Speaking at an economic forum in the far eastern city of Vladivostok on Thursday, he said it was a sacred duty of the Russian army to do everything to throw out the enemy of the border region of Kursk and protect its citizens after last month's stunning assault. Yet Putin also said that Moscow's main goal remained capturing the Donbass region, Ukraine's eastern industrial heartland, where Russian troops have been pushing forward for months. They basically control the Donbass, if you didn't know. The goal of the Kursk operation was to make Russia nervous and fidgety, Putin said, forcing Moscow to transfer troops from key areas of the battlefield and stop its advance, particularly in the Donbass, composed of the neighboring Donetsk and Luhansk regions. Were they successful? He said. No, the enemy has failed. In fact, the Russian army has stabilized the situation and have started to gradually squeeze out the Ukrainians from the border areas. He said while his troops in the Donbass were now advancing not by hundreds of meters, but by...
Sorry, yeah, to the people complaining about the chat, I didn't know that Streamlabs has merged both chats into one. And so, I used to have to separate the 2 chats and put them on top of each other, but now they're just all in the same thing. So they're all hugsies. So yeah, meet each other, chats. YouTube chat, Twitch chat, say hello. But I think you're both merged into the same thing.
Square kilometers. Putin's ebullient mood matched Ukraine's own confidence with developments on the battlefield. Kiev claims it very much is still in control of the territory of Kursk. Okay, let's play this game. You've got these sycophantic lunatics. You know what I love? I love how back in the day, if you did not support the invasion of Iraq, the war in Afghanistan, then you were anti-American or whatever. And it was very much like the conservatives who were on that side. But don't get me wrong, Democrats were there too. Everyone was cheering on war. And now it's the Democrats primarily who are like, if you don't support war. And they're trying to play this game like we're not involved.
So here's how things work. Saying the word war just in and of itself, that kind of just means nothing. It's not like at one point I was pro-war, then I was anti-war. At one point I believed in one war. You can tell that there's a lot of people who are deeply confused. Like I said, there's no stranger combination of flags, and you're going to get the worst possible take on the internet than if someone has an Israeli flag and a Ukrainian flag. Because then you're just like, wait, what the fuck? But the United States is not the only global actor. It's not the only, the country, or it's not the only nation in the world that both has either a militaristic ambition or expansionism ambitions. It doesn't matter if you try to justify it by saying that these used to be territories or regions that used to belong to a broader USSR. That moment in history has passed. The USSR no longer exists. It has been dissolved, and there is an independent nation of Ukraine. And as long as Russia wants to continue to try and reclaim parts of Ukraine by ceding territory off, holding elections that are obviously just going to be completely jaded or favorable to them, and then continue to expand that's something that other countries can criticize. They can ignore it. They could try and heavily back Ukraine as the United States is doing, but that's entirely up to you as a nation. But it doesn't just mean every single conflict is the same. But if you are against, let's say, one country invading another sovereign territory and taking over their territory, then yeah, that's why I find there's massive hypocrisy amongst pro-Ukrainian Democrats who also back up Israel. Fundamentally, your morals make absolutely no sense unless you have dehumanized Palestinians. You don't think Palestine is real. You don't think Palestinians deserve rights. You don't think they deserve autonomy. Any part of that, then you're going to fundamentally be on the side of Israel because you've got this idea that it's just Israel versus terrorism. That's it. Well, that's all Israel, and it's just them versus the terrorists. That's how I see the world, and that's when you just get the weirdest takes on the internet.
Excuse me. But we are involved. And so it's funny now that Democrats are all rallying around U.S. interventionist policies, but there are people in this country that will just, for whatever reason, I don't know, to the end of the United States. But oh boy, let's talk about foreign policy. This is a good opportunity.
So, by the way, this is where he was supposed to be talking about the pretty massive bombshell revelation that TENET, the media company that he's been both promoting and participating in, they've been getting millions of dollars of funding from Russian-backed sources. That's what he's supposed to be talking about. He's still doing the misdirect. Even in this, he's still talking about this and still being like, well, I mean, I'm no fan of Vladimir Putin. I got to be honest. Putin probably supports Kamala Harris. For the president of the United States. And also, what's up with this? It used to be back in the day that it was like the Republicans who were all like, we should go to war, invade Iraq. And then now people are like, well, that was a bad idea. But now when it comes to Ukraine, people are like, we should go to war. We should invade Russia. This is from the list of talking points that you're supposed to talk about. You're supposed to make people afraid that American soldiers are going to be on the ground and they're going to die and that we'll lose our men. All of this, you're still doing it. You're still doing the same talking points from the document.
Let's talk about it. Why did we give $12 million to Pakistan for gender studies? Now, a lot of Americans, a lot of Trump supporters and populists reject this notion that these people that were funding gender studies in Pakistan. Why? It's bunk. It's nonsense. The U.S. gives money to foreign countries for one principal reason: to build confidence and a desire for that currency to be the reserve currency. That's the purpose.
Wait, sorry, what? That's the basis of all geopolitics of the United States. To make people love money, American money. I mean, if you want to reduce it to spreading, American imperialism, maybe you could say they're trying to associate a value with the American dollar. I know that's not what he's doing, but that's at its most generous. I'll throw it there. But yes, it's usually for a combination of things: geopolitical interests that serve the interests of the United States, where they say maintaining stability, they usually mean maintaining the global accruement of resources and the exploitation of poorer nations and to continue to consume their resources for the benefit of the United States empire. That's one part of it. There's also a massive thing to be said about the sheer size and scale of the military-industrial complex in the United States and the fact that it is the world's largest arms dealer, and in so doing that they will definitely sow instability in various parts of the world by simply producing, manufacturing, and shipping the majority of weapons that the entire world uses to kill each other. So that's going to have another factor in there as well. There's no question that there's a monstrous profit incentive behind that, and between keeping constant conflicts and also not keeping direct conflict between superpowers, which is something that obviously the rich class of most superpowers doesn't want to have. You don't want a direct war, a land war, say, between China and America, but having a whole bunch of proxy wars between Russia and America. I'm not saying that they are proxy wars or direct conflicts, but you can look towards places like Syria or other regions of the world. Yeah, that will continue to benefit a select amount of people who profit handsomely off the military-industrial complex. All of that, yes. But it's not simply to promote the value of the almighty dollar or to make people want U.S. dollars or to change their currency specifically just to U.S. dollars and only U.S. dollars.
Purpose of U.S. dollars being dumped in all of these countries. Soft power play. If we say $12 million, Pakistan, we're going to give you $12 million, and we know they steal it. We know that we do these grants, the powerful elites steal it. They live in luxury.
What is he talking about?
These powerful interests say it is in my...
He said that they gave millions of dollars to Pakistan to promote gender studies, and they're stealing it. We all know they steal it. I don't even know what he's referencing right now. What is the gender studies, billions of dollars of U.S. funding program?
My best interest. They don't think this literally, but they're thinking I got $12 million. I'm rich now. I can buy an infinity pool. I can buy a new car. I can get a helicopter. That's right. People are willing to work for U.S. dollars. So when they do this enough, what happens then is, actually, South Park did a really great episode explaining this. When the
Okay, so this is complete gibberish. Channel 4 just did a documentary on the scandal. Curious to see what their deep beliefs are in regards to everything that these naughty boys have been doing. And that's the official trailer for Tenet.
Ukraine is the enemy of this country. Ukraine
This clip made
is
it.
our enemy.
For their millions of followers, influencers like Tim Pool and Laura Southern are sticking it to the mainstream media. Contrary, alternative right, independent.
And Omega Star and Social Warlock, thank you for the biddies.
Out hate, excavating division, cashing in on the culture wars. The indictment issued by the US Justice Department yesterday doesn't concern itself with that, though. Its focus, an alleged illegal money trail that it says connects alt-right influencers to Vladimir Putin. It's all part of a broader operation by US law enforcement to clamp down on a Russian campaign to influence the American presidential election in November. The devil, though, is in the detail of the federal indictment. It's issued against 2 Russian media executives in Moscow, but brings the reader on quite the ride. Here is the gist of it. The indictment alleges that 2 people working for Putin's favorite media outlet in Moscow, RT, funneled around $10 million to a...
We don't really watch him, but Matt Christensen and Megyn Kelly also made statements about this, so I'm curious what they have to say too.
Tennessee-based company, exactly matching the description of Tenet Media. It was founded by right-wing YouTuber Lauren Chen and her husband Liam Donovan. The company then
You're welcome, world. Canada strikes again.
Distributed the money to its stable of content creators. The influencers on Tenet's book include Tim Pool, Lauren Southern, Dave Rubin, and Benny Johnson. The indictment does not say that Moscow told the influencers themselves directly what to say. Today, Pool and some of the others addressed the issue and said they were duped by the Russians, the very definition, according to some, of a useful idiot.
Did you read the indictment?
Holy shit, you're on Channel 4. You should say hi, Dad. Hi, Tim Pool's dad. The very definition of a useful idiot.
It clearly says that I, as well as the other personalities, were victims. We were deceived by people intentionally to trick us into licensing our content to them.
The founders of Tenet Media,
so
though,
funny.
who had these influencers on their books, were told by the Russians the position to take on some issues, according to the indictment. The Russian Foreign Ministry today described it as an assault on free speech. We asked Tenet Media about paymasters, pipers, and the tune today. We're still awaiting a reply.
Paymasters, pipers, on the chin. Alright, let's see what Megyn Kelly has to say.
We knew yesterday that the DOJ was going to be making some sort of an announcement about Russian influence in this election.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about that. We talked about how Russia has been a stalking horse for Democrats for some time when it comes to this is why we lost the 2016 election. And this is what Trump did in order to get ahead. And Russia, Russia, Russia. And indeed, they do love to wave this flag as an excuse for virtually everything. Well, the DOJ, we knew, was coming out yesterday with a major announcement. And when we closed the show yesterday, we said, we'll cover it for you. And our guest tomorrow will be Dave Rubin. Well, imagine our surprise when later that day, the DOJ announced that its case is not against Dave Rubin. Maybe I need to be perfectly clear about that, nor is he accused of doing anything criminal or wrong. He, in fact, is one of the victims of this scheme that
Victims. I don't think you all know what that word means. All of you keep being like, oh, these poor little content creators, these right-wing content creators, they got paid $10 million for their live stream videos, uploading their live stream videos to another YouTube channel and got $10 million for that. Oh, poor little babies. I don't know if they're going to be okay.
the DOJ alleged in great detail yesterday. He, Tim Pool, Benny Johnson, and other conservative media.
Yeah, not just useful idiots, very well paid useful idiots. Like $10 million fucking dollars. Benny Johnson got $100,000 an episode to just upload clips of his live stream. Like, Jesus Christ. Oh, oh, but the poor babies. Oh, we accidentally were propaganda outlets for the Kremlin. Oh, how could we have done this?
Personalities you likely know well. They've all been swept up in this Department of Justice indictment announced last night, not against them, but against 2 Russians, a male and a female, for their involvement in creating an independent media company.
By the way, I'll go right back to this because I haven't seen this yet, but I do want to add just one little part. Lauren Southern, who's woven into all this, this isn't the first time that, like, really profoundly what the fuck stories have popped up involving her and perhaps, you know, government agencies. Like, I don't know if you'll remember this. Far-right activist Lauren Southern says her husband, who worked for the feds, has divorced her for being a career deadweight, as she reveals life has been batshit since banned from the UK for giving out leaflets saying... The 27-year-old Canadian far-right personality revealed life fell apart 2 years ago after her unidentified husband left her and their child. His Fed security clearance was downgraded due to an association with her, but he blamed her ADHD as one of the reasons why they split. She claims he influenced her since blah, 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 blah. And she started doing the whole, like, why the trad life sucks tour, you know. Lauren Southern, how my trad life turned toxic. The online ideology doesn't work in the real world. And then had to move back to Canada and all that stuff. But I'm sorry, what? You were married to a federal agent? One who was, like, traveling all the time on missions and shit like that. He was married to a far-right extremist? That's pretty fucked up. One who was now part of a media conglomerate who may have been receiving millions of dollars of Russian funding to promote Russian propaganda. Like, there's a lot going on here. I don't know. I would assume at a certain point you'd have to start getting a little bit worried about how deep this stuff goes.
That used the podcast feeds and services of these big names in order to amplify their own channel called TENET Media. And the whole thing turned out to be covertly funded by Russian media organization RT, so alleges the Department of Justice. It's a complicated case that is unsurprisingly not being covered honestly so far by the corporate press, but I'm just going to lay it out for you quickly. Relatively quickly. Okay, so here's the deal. The DOJ is alleging that these 2 Russians who worked for RT, I mean, that does matter, but it's really the fact that they're in Russia and they're Russian and they're pushing Russian interests. What they did was they called their friend Lauren Chen. Now, she is a Canadian citizen who's...
Nice. Oh, it's like, oh, throw her under the bus for being Canadian right away. Out of the gates. Hell yeah. Yes. Oh, I love it. It's like immediately, Lauren, it doesn't matter how much you produce American content, even if you live in America and you have all American friends now, you're still a filthy Canadian to them at the end of the day, and they'll throw you under the bus so fast immediately. Hey, just so we're clear, they were in contact with Lauren Chen. Yeah, you may have heard of her. I know. We all love her. Well, we did. She's actually Canadian. That's right. Yeah. And so this company, I mean, they were in direct contact with Canadians. I mean, this is more of a Canadian-Russian collusion than anything, ultimately.
Living and working in America. I believe
Blame
living here
Canada.
too, but definitely working in America for, among others, The Blaze. And she's a relatively well-known conservative personality online. I will say she's a troll. I unfollowed her a while ago because it was obvious this is not a person worth listening to on X.
Wow. Sorry, when did that happen? I feel like I've missed out on a lot of drama, a lot of tea.
So they contacted Lauren Chen because, unbeknownst to me, she had worked for RT for a year as a commentator, apparently on the air, but at least writing articles for them. So openly affiliating with this channel. Now, it's not that RT, it's definitely state-run media. It is with Russia. I mean, good luck finding them doing anything critical of Vladimir Putin.
Like I told you, this is why this is one of those stories that's probably going to hurt a lot of them in, like, from their own circles. There is still that deeply embedded, like, you know, the old school, the Megyn Kellys, the Fox Newses, they're not going to want you playing directly for the Russian government. Like, it's one thing to travel to Russia and be like doing all these puff pieces like your Tucker Carlson, or being like, you know, it's kind of cool how they're like anti-woke and anti-LG. That's one thing. It's another thing to be funded by like Russian state interests. Again, like a rube. And so I guess like that's their out. It's going to be Lauren Chen. Lauren Chen is going to be the one that they throw under the bus for all of this.
Trust me. They try to get more and more influence in the United States. They've had people reach out to me many times to try to get me to do something. It's a no. Okay, they know that by this point.
So you had more morals than Lauren Chen. Blame Canada. Filthy Canadians. We're weak. We're for sale. I told you. You looked at all the trinkets, all the weird things coming in the mail now that I'm getting, all these Russian toys. I mean, I'm for sale. It's all it takes.
But in this case, they did reach out to Lauren, according to this indictment, and said, help us form a new independent media company and help us find influencers who will work for it. And according to the indictment, she did. She and her husband both did that and recruited guys like Dave and Tim Pool and Benny and 3 others I never heard of. And she, according to the indictment, knew that the Russians would be funding this and editing content, but the influencers, the conservative podcasters, did not. And that's according to the indictment. That's why none of them has been indicted. The feds are saying,
I love this. I love everything about this. Just right away, blame Canada. Go real hard on Canada. It's Canada's fault, obviously. Lauren Chen, she's a Canadian. She's been working for RT. She's actually more of a Russian puppet. She's the one who colluded. And then she took all these innocent, completely innocent little doves, this beautiful bouquet of creators, took them in, and all of a sudden was like, oh, can you get hundreds of thousands of dollars to upload your live stream videos of the stuff that you make as long as they're a little bit pro-Russia? Can you do that? It's just, we'll take all the clips and upload them onto TENET for me. And then they got millions of dollars, these poor victims, poor souls, Americans, otherwise patriotic. Otherwise, these Americans, they bleed red, white, and blue, but not now. Not now. They were fooled. They were fooled into working for a foreign government by this evil, filthy Canadian. Filthy-ass Canadian. Yes. Throw Lauren Chen under the bus.
Rubin, Pool, Benny John, they didn't know. They were not told. In fact, they were given misinformation by Lauren because they allege she knew they would never do this if they understood.
They didn't know.
It was being funded by the Russians. She told them that it was all being funded by some French businessman, Edouard Grigorian. And the indictment alleges that both Tim and Dave, I don't know about the others, tried to kick the...
Could it be that she was also fooled, or did she know? Are you just straight up throwing Lauren Chen? Is Lauren Chen going to be visited by CSIS? Like in America, it seems like all the pundits so far have been like, I was fooled. Who could have known where all these hundreds of thousands of dollars were coming from to promote, anti-fucking Ukrainian sentiment and pro-Russian sentiment? No way of knowing, really. But in Canada, is it going to be like, oh no, she knew. She knew she was working for the Russians. She knew the contact was Russian. She fooled all of her other content creators, pulled them all in. Oh, this infighting, everything about this is so glorious.
Tires a bit, obviously not enough.
The indictment alleges that Chen
Edouard
knew?
Grigorian, and they wanted to see like a profile of the guy. All that was forwarded was a link.
I'll be honest with you. I would be very happy to see Lauren Chen and her entire, whatever you want to call it, empire ethos, her association with the Blaze, and her, just crash and burn. She's been such a, shitty footnote when it comes to, all of the, anti-LGBTQ plus pundits. She'll always just copy the rest of them. Matt Walsh comes out with a video they're mutilating kids, fucking children's hospital, bad, blah. And then, a week later, Lauren Chen comes out with that same thing. And then it's just oh, cool. Yet another thing. It's just coming this time from a person with whom a lot of the right-wingers can, get a different side of their bigotry.
Which appears obviously to have been fake.
Lauren just got fired? Do you have a link for that? Oh my God, you're right. Oh, what a day. What a glorious day. Oh. The Blaze fired right-wing provocateur Lauren Chen on Thursday, less than 24 hours after it was revealed that Chen and her husband allegedly played a role in the Russian influence operation. On Wednesday, the Department of Justice announced that it was charging 2 Russian nationals working for RT, a Russian state-controlled media outlet, with violating the Foreign Affairs Registration Act and conspiracy to commit money laundering in connection with the scheme to pay out large sums of money to a company that was later identified by media outlets as Chen's TENET Media, pushing for what amounted to Russian propaganda. The Justice Department has charged 2 employees of RT, a Russian state-controlled media outlet, in a $10 million scheme to create and distribute content to U.S. audiences with hidden Russian government messaging. On Thursday, Blaze media CEO Tyler Carden told Semaphore that Lauren Chen was an independent contractor for the Blaze and that her contract has been terminated. According to an indictment, Chen and her husband, Leon Donovan, referred to as Founder 1 and Founder 2 in the document, worked together to mask U.S. companies one's true source of funding, including the company's own talent, which includes Tim Pool, Benny Johnson, and Dave Rubin. Oh, it's not even throwing her under the bus. She backstabbed them all. She fucked them. She fucked everyone. She knew what she was doing. Oh, I love it. It just gets better and better. What a story. Chen and Donovan allegedly told they recruited the company that the seed money for the company had come from Edouard Georgian, a fake person for whom they created a fake internet profile. So they were the ones who created the fake internet profile? I thought it was the Russians who created the fake internet profile. So just to clarify, because I think it's important to note, the indictment alleges that the founders of the company, Lauren Chen and her husband, intentionally deceived the influencers mentioned below, seemingly Dave Rubin and Tim Pool, regarding the source of the funding. Oh, they were the baddies. She was the baddie all along. She was the ultimate villain, the anime villain. This was the arc that no one saw coming. It was Canada. You are right to blame Canada. Well, that means we get 2 dances. Not just one, but 2. So first, Can I even do Blame Canada? I'm going to assume Blame Canada will probably get the stream roasted. There's just a sample of it. Maybe just a little. Hey, what about a cover?
Blame Canada, with all their beady little eyes and flapping heads so full of lies. Blame Canada, we need to form a full assault. It's Canada's fault.
What a wild series of revelations, you know? I would have accepted the whole TENET was funded by Christians, Christian nationalists. They put all the money into it. Not RT, not Russia. Didn't see. And then Lauren Chen being the mastermind. Lauren Chen trying to take down all of right. She was a comrade all along, right?
Hey, if you'd like to unlock secret bonus episodes as well as uncensored content, go to patreon.com/The Serfs. This show is produced by Anna Loves Riley, Arian McCarthy, Cheryl Alvarez, Comrade Junkie, Doug Caddy, Everything Important, Hagbard Celine, Jimmy Sombrero, Voltimondi, Omni, Political Poppy, Preston Kroll, Quiet 185, Riley and Anna, Roller Dragon, Cernicus, Stellar Gwyn, Sebastian Demel, Travis McClinton, Trincel, Words Greenwood, with additional support coming from all of these amazing human beings right here.